Welcome back, y'all, to One Piece chapter 1027, and oh boy, am I excited that we finally have a difficult opponent for Zoro post time skip. But before we start talking about Zoro's fight, we're gonna start talking from the beginning of the chapter and then work our way on to the end. You guys know how it works already, so let's get right into it. So the first couple panels of this chapter are dedicated to Nekomamushi post his Pedo fight, and he's covering his eyes from the moonlight, which makes a lot of sense considering the fact that he does not want to go Sulong form yet again. Because imagine, you just don't want to be chilling in your strongest form. There's no one left to fight, so you might as well relax and, not waste your energy. He's also mentioning to Carrot and Wanda to also cover their eyes as well, while at the same time pondering where this moonlight came from, because the moon was being covered by clouds and then boom, like the sky ripped open. What happened here? And I cannot wait to see the look on everybody's faces when they realize it was Luffy that caused this feat. And in case you're that 1 out of a millionth person that doesn't believe that this is a huge feat for Luffy, it's then again reiterated by Yamato later in the chapter that, whoa, Luffy split the sky when he clashed with Kaido. This happened in Oden's journal when Roger met Whitebeard. Like, this is insane. And that's just Oda's way of just reiterating to us that this is huge. This is a Yonko level feat. Even if Luffy was Yonko level before the clash, this is just further proof that puts him at that playing field. And speaking of Luffy, this is when we cut right back to the clash, and this is right after this giant feat where the sky split and everything's going wild, Onigashima's shaken, and Kaido and Luffy are not breaking eye contact. It's a very intense scene. I love that they're not even exchanging words at this point, and while this is all going on, we finally see Yamato's damage catching back up with her. She's back in her human form, no hybrid, no transformation, no nothing, and she's finally bleeding from the forehead. I say finally because when she clashed Thunderbogwas with Kaido, I was just baffled. I was like, wow, once Yamato joins the crew or joins the Grand Fleet, she's gonna be a menace to society. Like, she is way strong. And I feel like this right here and showing that Yamato did take damage from that clash is Oda's way of kind of turning back that dial. Like, oh yeah, maybe I made her a little bit too powerful. Let me just turn that down a little bit. Also, just like last chapter, how Luffy showed greater reflexes than Yamato, this chapter kind of says, hey, Yamato took damage from that clash even though they were kind of equal, and Luffy did not take damage from his clash with Kaido just now. Although he could get the damage later on, but right now we're not seeing anything. So that's another thing that puts Luffy above Yamato for anybody that's saying that Yamato is, way too close to Luffy's power scaling. I don't believe that's the case, and this kind of proves it as well. So moving on, this is when we have Luffy kind of reiterating his orders to Momonosuke to save the people of Wano Kuni by stopping Onigashima from falling. Momonosuke really doesn't want to jump off this cliff. He's like, I can't fly, I don't know how to do this. And I never stopped and thought about this, but Kaido and Momonosuke, they're dragons, but they don't have the traditional dragon wings you see in Western dragons. And I was like, wait, how do they fly? Like, I never once thought about this. And I was like, wait, they're creating clouds and just grabbing onto them and essentially walking on the sky like they mentioned in this chapter. And I was like, that's actually kind of crazy, because when you look at Eastern traditional dragons, they always have clouds around him. And I thought that was always an artistic choice. But now I finally, call me dumb, but I finally just now realized that that's actually how they're quote-unquote flying. Also, don't make fun of me, but I just got done watching a Disney movie called Raya and the Last Dragon. And in this movie, they have these dragons that are shaped like Kaido and Momonosuke. And during the movie, they start flying. And they fly essentially how Momonosuke and Kaido were doing. They're creating these little clouds underneath their foot, and they're just walking in the sky. And I watched this after I read the chapter, and I was like, whoa, guys, pause. This is like Kaido Momonosuke. I was like going so freaking crazy over it. I was like, well, how did I not know this is a thing until just now? All right, revelations aside, Kaido is chasing down Momonosuke and Yamato because he does not want them to, for some reason, stop Onigashima from falling. I don't really know Kaido's game plan in this, because his idea was to land Onigashima on Wano Kuni to make it the new capital. But like they just said, once Onigashima falls, it's so heavy and there's so much gunpowder that it'll actually just explode. So in theory, wouldn't the skull just combust and the capital will be a pile of rubble? I don't really know Kaido's plan here. I'm assuming he might have wanted to drop it safely on top of Wano Kuni, but that's definitely not a possibility now, considering the fact that his powers are actually waning. Yes, you heard that right, guys. Kaido's powers are actually waning. His powers are fading. His flame clouds are losing their stability, and I really like this. because Kaido has been a straight monster. Nobody can say that this is like a plot armor for Luffy to beat Kaido, because Kaido has been fighting people non-stop throughout the start of this arc. He fought the Scabbards, he fought Luffy in the worst generation, he fought Yamato, and now he's fighting Luffy again for like the third freaking time. He is finally losing his powers, and the guy's still standing strong, don't get me wrong. He's still carrying all of Onigashima, but you're finally seeing him maybe drop from 100% power to like 80 or 70%, which is a huge jump for Kaido. Not to mention the fact that Kaido has been taking every single attack that's thrown at him to the chin. The guy hasn't really dodged anything. He's taking all of these blows and he's just tanking it, man. So the fact that Kaido's finally losing a little bit of his powers, I think is a-okay, and I'm actually pretty excited because you could also argue that Luffy is not at 100% either. Yes, he recovered, yes, he ate a lot of food, but he still took a significant amount of damage within 24 hours. And this is the amount of damage that would generally kill anybody. So yes, Luffy's not 100%, Kaido's not 100%. So I'm excited to see where this goes, and if Luffy beats Kaido, I'm excited that it's going to be a quote-unquote one-on-one at the very end. And I really love how cheerful Luffy was when he pulled back Kaido. All of the attacks that Luffy has put on Kaido beforehand have been really heavy. It's Luffy going all out, he's very serious. But the face that Luffy makes when he pulls Kaido back with his legs, it's so comical, and that's Luffy's confidence showing through. I see this panel right here, and I say, wow, Yamato was confident that Luffy's gonna win on a one-on-one, and so is Luffy, and that's insane to me. I'm loving this. I love the confidence that they have, and that's how you know that this is going to be the final fight. So past that, we have Momonosuke, and he's kind of debating on how he's gonna carry Onigashima. But if you really think about it, he is like the only person who can actually save this, and he's a huge dragon now too, so it's time to put his devil fruit powers to the test. And with Yamato by his side, and Yamato knowing Kaido and knowing how the ability works, I feel like he could not ask for a better mentor. So as far as Onigashima falling on Wano Kuni, I don't really see that happening. I see it being a very, very, very close call, but I can kind of write this off as saying, yes, Momonosuke will handle this. We don't have to worry about it. All right, so now my boys, we are here at the Zorro versus King segment of the chapter. Like we all knew it was gonna happen. It was either gonna be Sanji versus Queen or King versus Zorro. And here we are. Yo, this chapter, King decided to throw away his swords. We don't even see it this chapter, man. He tosses it to the side and he just starts going haywire. The first couple panels we have King just going willy-nilly, attacking friend and foe. And it makes a lot of sense because a lot of beast pirates are turning on each other and he doesn't really know who's actually helping him or not. So he's just kind of going haywire with it. And dude, I can't believe that Zorro is already knocking part of King's mask off already. I thought King's face was gonna be one of those biggest mysteries in One Piece. Like we're never gonna see it until arcs later, until we get like a Lunarian flashback. But nope, we got a brief glimpse of it in this chapter. But before we get there, Zorro ends up cutting off a singular horn from King's right side. And King gets pretty freaking pissed. He ends up kicking Zorro through multiple walls to where Zorro ends up being caught by Frankie, who was a long distance away, right? Like he wasn't that close. Frankie ends up catching him and he's like, yo, do you need help, man? Like, what's up, Zorro? Like, do you need anything? Zorro says he got this, and Frankie, he knows when the vice captain tells you that he can handle this, Frankie just was like, all right, see you later, man. Like, good luck with them. And I love this panel. The panel where King is just walking like a badass. Like you got like the darkened face on him. You got the fire in the background. It perfectly symbolizes King's character. Like looking at this panel, I can really respect Oda's design choice for King. You look at this man and you're like, yo, that is a first Yonko commander. You do not want to mess with this guy. But yeah, like I said, King is pretty upset that Zorro cut off his horn. So he goes in for a heavy attack. And this is when Zorro attacks him right back. And this panel we see of Zorro attacking King, it kind of looks like he like chopped off a part of his head or just straight shot him with the gun. It was kind of funny. It looks like he got lobotomized. Like King would take that attack and he's like, who am I again? What am I fighting here for? But yeah, King ends up getting pretty pissed even more, knocks Zorro through some more walls until Zorro ends up falling off of Onigashima. Zorro uses a new technique and he essentially thrusts himself back to Onigashima. And that's when we catch a good glimpse of King's face. And yo, This man's design is about to be spicy. This is about to be one of the most handsome men underneath the mask of all time. Looking at King's slicked back hairstyle and looking at his skin tone, I can imagine him looking somewhat similar to the Raikage from Naruto, or even like Douglas Bullet from the Stampede movie. And you also catch a small glimpse of a tattoo above his eyebrow. And a couple of things with this, there's not a lot of characters in One Piece with tattoos at all. So this instantly reminds me of Calgara from the Skypiea arc. It also reminds me of Dragon. And I'm just like, wait, Skypiea? Calgara, like what if the Lunarians were so tied with the Skypieans that this is where the One Piece lore and the Void Century and Joy Boy and everything starts mixing in together? Once we see what King's actual face looks like, once we see what that tattoo is, I feel like we're gonna get a big piece of history from that tattoo. There are already so many theories connecting the Lunarians to Sun God Nika. So if you connect Sun God Nika to the Skypieans, it's like, whoa, like the whole trinity is coming together. Like you can actually start painting a good picture of what happened back then. But until we see King's full face, we have no idea how to make these connections just yet. Watch Zoro knock off King's mask and it's actually just a tattoo that says mom or something like that. But I like what Zoro says here. He's like, yo, like at least let me die with the sword in my hand. I want to die fighting you instead of falling down to my death. And I really like that, and it's very refreshing to see Zoro fighting an opponent that does not use a sword. You guys have no idea how great that is for the story of One Piece in general. Because beforehand, whenever we had the Straw Hats versus another group of pirates, you could generally pick out who Zoro's opponent was going to be based off of who has a sword. Because like, oh, swordsman versus swordsman. Zoro's gonna take care of him, of course. But now that Zoro's actually fighting somebody that doesn't use a sword, it opens up a endless world of possibilities for Zoro to fight future opponents with. Not saying that all of his future opponents don't have to have a sword, but if they don't, then it's not a big deal anymore. Which, to be fair, Zoro could probably fight opponents that don't use swords and still wax them quite easily. But fighting an opponent, a strong opponent like King, a first Yonko commander with a bounty of over 1 billion, over Marco's bounty, over Katakuri's bounty, and defeating him, that is setting a huge precedent for future fights. And on that note though, let's just remind ourselves that Zoro is fighting a top tier opponent. He is fighting King, a first Yonko commander with a bounty of over 1 billion berries. This is not a small opponent. Once Zoro beats him, Zoro's bounty will skyrocket past the 1 billion, and that's a huge deal. I was browsing through the comments on the Reddit forum, and the amount of people saying that this fight is gonna be mid-diff for Zoro are straight disrespecting King. I've got to say that real quick. You can be a Zoro fanboy, and that's fine, because I love Zoro too. But the thing is, at least base this in reality. Like, would you not want Zoro to have a hard fight? Like, let's be real here. The last big fight Zoro had was probably post-time skip. The fight against Pika was no diff. The fight against that dude from Fishman Island was no diff. The fight against Hody Jones was kind of a joke. So having Zoro fight somebody and having him go all out post-time skip is huge. And I feel like this is a chance that Oda will not miss. And you can even see this in the final panels of the chapter. Zoro is huffing and puffing. His shirt is already blown off. I don't even know where his shirt went. It literally disappeared halfway through the chapter. And steam is coming out of him. The guy's like barely standing. And King, the only damage Zoro did to King so far was breaking a part of his mask. This fight is going to be huge. It's going to be huge for Zoro, and the Sanji versus Queen fight is going to be freaking huge for Sanji. At least Zoro has had big fights post time skip. Sanji has had really none. So it's going to be a huge feat for Sanji too. This is going to be a crazy arc. I'm telling you guys, post Wano bounty updates, post Wano Big Morgan headlines are going to be wild. That is my favorite part of the series, and I'm living for it. Difficulty aside, hands down, my favorite part about the Zoro versus King fight has to be the memes about King. I don't know if you guys have been browsing your local forums or your local comment sections, but the amount of people laughing about the fact that King has little to no lines at all is honestly making my day. When we were fighting Who's Who back like 10 chapters ago, when Jinbei was laying the smackdown against Who's Who, he was spilling his guts. Who's Who was acting like a Disney villain, telling us his evil plan, his backstory, what made him this way, how'd he get here, and everything he believed in, the lore of the universe. And I was like, yo, what is going on here? Why is this man telling us so much information? And then here we are, 10 chapters later, fighting against King, who I think has the most interesting and relevant backstory on this island, and he's not saying a single dime. The guy's not even commenting on the fight at all. And it's just so hilarious because now I'm like begging for it. I'm like, yo, look, tell us more, man. Come on. Who are you? What are you doing here? How'd you get here? And man, the guy's just not telling us anything. I feel like he'll tell us more as the fight goes on or once people actually see his face. But considering his character and how stoic he is, I really feel like we're gonna get nothing out of him. I feel like the best chance to get King lore and backstory is going to be from Queen, because Queen initially was the one who dropped the fact that King was actually a Lunarian. So once the Sanji and Queen fight gets in the works, we'll actually start learning more about King, which is kind of a weird thing to say. But yes, with that being said, I feel like the next chapter will be dedicated towards the Sanji and Queen aspect of Onigashima, and maybe even a little bit of Zoro and King as well. The main reason I'm saying that is because the way Oda likes to do these fights, he likes to start with Sanji, then finishes off with Zoro, and then Luffy. So if we go in that order, we're essentially going to get a little bit of each fight sprinkled here and there, with a little bit more emphasis placed on the Sanji fight. Well, with that being said, y'all, that is where I'm ending this video. Thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. It really means a lot. And the last video, you guys left a lot of comments, and I really appreciate it. I read every single one of them. I am not lying when I say that. All, I think, 100+ comments I have read. I don't comment back on most of them unless they're actually just straight addressing me. But yeah, I read all of them, and it means a lot that you guys do that and take the time. Shout out to the people who have the most likes on that comment section. I thought that was pretty cool. I think somebody got like 60+ likes, and I was like, wow, dude, like, keep up the good work, man. I don't know. I was kind of happy for that for no reason. But yeah, it means a lot. I really appreciate all the support, whether I get 100 views or 1,000 views. Just knowing that somebody out there is watching these videos and commenting and liking it, it really does mean a lot. It's the whole reason why I do this. I don't claim to know more about One Piece than the next guy. I'm literally a dude that reads the chapter online the moment it comes out, and I'm just like, yo, let's freaking talk about it. Let's just build a little conversation here, and from One Piece nerd to another, like, if I miss something out, just let me know. Well, with that being said, guys, like I said, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week because there is no break. So I'll be in touch.